Hi, I'm Christy Karate, Mastering the Art of Life. I have a question. Do you think you already know this stuff? Well, let me ask you, does your life reflect this? And if the answer is no, then you know about it. But until it becomes your second nature, you won't see the lasting results in your life from the thinking that I'm teaching you here, especially from my book, Beyond the Box. So I'm here to introduce you to some key components of how to create lasting results for your desires in life. You see, desires are actually a signal to us, and I'm going to tell you how to clarify whether those desires are true, good desires to have and moving you in the direction of your life. But those are indicators that there is something more for us to live and fulfill in our lives. And what's true is we're never done. Now, it may change how we do things. Brenda, that's on the call with me here, is a really great example of that. As we move into somebody called it the sweet part of life, we get to change how we do life. And so I'll be talking about that, and Brenda will get to share a little bit about how that has worked for her. So in this time together, believe me, I have a whole lot of content and material to share with you, but I'm going to give you everything I've got, as much as I can. I've been immersed in this work for over 30 years. Well, actually, for even longer than that, because my grandmother started teaching me, she lived this work, started teaching me this work when I was a young child. So my whole life I've lived from this work. And at first I thought everybody knew how to live this work, but I found out after going into middle school and finding out a lot of people didn't know what the heck I was talking about, that it's actually a great secret. How to live life to its fullest. So I'm trained as a life mastery consultant with Mary Morrissey. I'm also an art therapist, and I have combined this work into being a mentor and a guide, helping people master the art of life. Now, I help people live beyond the box, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Okay, so what is living beyond the box? Well, first I'm going to show you a video that my son helped me make. We came into this world perfect, divine, whole, as an amazing expression of life. Regardless of what our attributes were when we came in, we were an individual, unique masterpiece that the divine sent to become into human form. We were perfect. We were whole. Even if we were born with some kind of defect or something, that is our way of being. We are whole and perfect and complete. And then as we go along through life, we start listening to things, even our parents saying things about us. I was told that I was good at art, but not at math. So you'll like that. I was told that my cousins always did it right. So my grandmother would compare us to our cousins. And later I learned it was kind of almost a way to get us to behave the way she wanted us to behave, because she did the same thing with them. And then when I graduated college, my father said, "Oh, I'd always thought you would be an engineer." And of course, I graduated in art school. And I'm like, why didn't you tell me you had that belief in me? And then, when I got married, I actually couldn't conceive. And I thought I was broken for that reason. And then one of the beliefs that I still struggle with right now is that I'm not good at business. And so when we have these thoughts, these erroneous thoughts about ourselves, we begin to believe that this is who we are. And when we look in the mirror, this is what we see. We believe that we are not whole or perfect or complete. And then we begin thinking, oh, what can I believe about myself? And that's the work I do. I can become anything I want. I am my own unique person. Our son Aaron is the best gift that I could have. I live my life as my own unique genius. The work that I do is help you fill in the untrue beliefs that you've been believing about yourself. And I do that by providing you with creative thinking tools. And these tools are based on principle, and that is one of the tools that I do teach, is I help people understand the immutable laws, and also many other concrete tools that I have created to help you see yourself as whole. Okay, so I wrote a book called Beyond the Box. Here, it's called Creative Thinking Expanded, and I'm going to share with you why this doesn't say out of the box and why it says beyond the box. So let me share this video with you. Trust me. What Beyond the Box is about is that our box has generally been created from all of the beliefs, the thoughts, the ideas, the teaching, everything that everybody else has given us. And we have therefore been limited within a box of our beliefs. And what Beyond the Box is about not even creating a new box, it's creating a new you and a new belief system for yourself. Because why limit ourselves to a box? And when we learn the universal laws, which is one of the main components I do, there is no box. There is only the infinite. And it's just a wonderful place to be in. This is the box of who we are, and every decision we make every day comes out of these old belief systems that we have, that we don't even know are running us. And so what we want to do here is create not a new box. We don't want to step outside of the box because it's still going to run us. We want to create our own container, and who says it has to be a box? Okay, so that's one of that's the big content of this book, Beyond the Box. Okay, so how do you do that? How do you begin living beyond the box? I want to ask you, what are some of the dreams you had as a child? What are some of the things that have limited you in your thinking? I'm going to put up a little worksheet, and I want you to take a look at this, and on your own piece of paper you can write down what are your discontents in these 4 areas of life. So just take a minute and write down, what is your current discontent with health? And maybe even where you think the thought patterns that led you there. Interesting, right? The thought patterns that led you there. What are they? What about in your relationships? This is love relationships. This is friendships. This is community. And then what about career? And this is also where I like to put philanthropy. What are your great discontents regarding philanthropy? Okay, and where did those beliefs, what are the beliefs that are limiting you? I was just at a conference in Denver, and I constantly am resisting being a business owner, being a businesswoman. And I don't understand it because I love sharing my work, right? So at this conference, I was with a friend, and I was really being pushed up against this. It was a business conference, right? And at breakfast one morning, I sat there with this friend, and I pounded my fist on the table. I said, why would I want to be in business when all I saw from my parents was failure? My mother was a business consultant, but she never could succeed at business. My father went into real estate and lost all of his properties because he didn't know how to do business. Why would I want to do business? And all of a sudden I went, oh my gosh, it's another parent issue, right? It's running me and I don't even know it, because every one of my mentors say, we don't have to do it like we were shown how to do it. And all of a sudden, in that moment, I was able to open up and say, I can do it in a way that gives me the next arena here, which is time, money, freedom. These are the vehicles that give us the ability to be creative in the world, and that's what we came here to do. This is my purpose in the world, is to create something that has never been created before. You know, the universe is constantly expanding. It's not repeating itself. It's constantly expanding, and that's how our life is as well. One of the ways to do this is to begin dreaming, to begin creating your life design as you would love to see it be. So I'm going to give you another little homework, in the moment exercise right now, to start thinking about how you can think out of the box, beyond the box. Okay, so first of all, I want you to erase everything in your mind right now that has happened to you in the past. I want you to think about the year 2025, okay? I want you to erase everything that is a how. How would I ever do this? How could I ever do this? And so I want you to erase that out of your mind right now. And I want you to think about, in the year 2025, what would you love? If it wasn't impossible, what would you love? And I'm going to share this other worksheet with you. And I want you to go ahead and write in that, if it weren't impossible, if I could wave a magic wand, what would you love? So go ahead and take a minute to ask yourself that. I do have a video I want to share here with you, and I want to tell you the importance of having a vision, of doing this life design work. Now, the importance of a clear vision isn't so much to get to the destination, but it's always to be sure that you're moving in the direction of what makes you feel good, what propels you forward, right? If you don't have a clear vision, it's so easy to go the wrong way, right? Here's a good example of that, and a very fun example of that. So I decided to remodel my kitchen. And I found a great contractor. He was very creative, very competent. And I could have just said to him, build me a beautiful kitchen. And I know it would have been gorgeous, but guess what? It wouldn't have been purple. So having a clear vision in your life gets you where you want to go. So that's why we do this work. It isn't so much that we're thinking about the future, that we're working on creating a vision for the future. We actually use the tool of a vision to actually allow us to stand in the moment and say, oh, I have a decision to make. Is this decision going to move me towards that vision? And the vision is a feeling tone, okay? It's not, we use pictures because our mind thinks in pictures, but it is a vision that moves you towards your feeling tone of what your vision represents. Because you can stand there and go, oh, I have a decision to make. Is it taking me in this direction, or is it leading me astray? You know, like what can lead us astray? Oh, somebody has a new idea they want me to come with. You can stand in the moment and say, does this move me in the direction of? Now, it doesn't always look literal. Okay, so for example, it could be, you know, I really have a messy desk here. Is that going to take me away from my vision, or is it going to direct me in the direction of my vision? And so for me, that's a good time to stop, clean my desk, because then I have greater clarity to move in the direction of my vision. So once you have a vision, our mind starts chattering. How are we going to create that? Well, when we try to figure out the how, we as humans have a small little pea-sized brain, compared to the big spiraling universe that we live in that has multitudes of possibilities. So instead of saying, how would I ever get that there, we want to move to, what is something I can do today or this week? I don't need to know the how, but if we get into the feeling tone every day that we are our vision moving forward, then we will have the universe, that spiraling universe, will provide for us everything that we need, believe it or not, to move to that vision and have that feeling experience, right? But what gets in the way? We do. The only reason we have not realized our vision, our dream, our life desire right now is because we have gotten in the way. We get stuck. Now, you might look at your dream and say, oh, well, it's too big. How could it come true? Well, this is actually why we dream for 5 years out. I've had people do long-term visions, and then they once they get aligned with that vision and believing that vision, then they have that manifest. I had one client, she set up an 18-month goal and vision for her life, right? And because she was in this work and she did this work, she manifested it in 7 weeks. Okay, but she had to first dream that it was possible to get there in 18 weeks before her nervous system, before her believing could catch up with that. So, but here is a way to know if this is one of the other tools I wanted to share with you, and I'll send this out with the recording as well, is it's 5 questions that you can ask yourself to know if your dream is worthy of you. Not if you are worthy of your dream, but is it worthy of you? Because you're going to invest your life, your time, your attention into this, right? So here they are. Does it give me more life? Like if you've done this before and it's just rote, there is no growth or expansion in that, right? It's called stagnant, right? So the next one is, does it align with my core values? Now, I've mentioned my book, and one of the chapters actually helps you determine your core values so that you can make sure you can answer this question, yes. There was a person who was doing this work, and she wanted to be a hairdresser, but she wanted to travel the world, so she decided to get a job on a cruise ship. Well, the problem was, working on cruise ships, you're out there for 6 months or something like that. She had a young, darling girl, and her husband said, go ahead, follow your dream, do what you want to do. But it didn't align with her core value, which was home. And so she decided that wasn't the thing for her. The other thing she'd always wanted to do, and sometimes we have to like make those mistakes so that we can retake, right? And she said, I've always wanted to be a teacher. So by the time her daughter was in kindergarten, she was a teacher and was able to have her daughter in her classroom. So does your life design align with your core values? Now, does it cause you to grow? As I mentioned before, if it doesn't, it's either retractive or stagnant, right? Or we want to be growing. Now, a lot of people say, oh, but look at all the things I've done, especially like myself. You know, I'm moving into my sweet years, as we're starting to call them now. And it's like, I don't want to, I don't have the same drive. I don't want to work as hard. So why would I want to still grow? Well, one of the growths that we move into at this time of our lives is to become the teacher, the mentor, the crone, right? To be the giver of wisdom and to harvest what we have done over life and sit back and enjoy it. I imagine, you know, the ample goddess, you know, sitting cross-legged, just like loving life. That's what the sweet part of life is about, right? So that is growth, right? For many of us, especially to stop doing, and become more being, right? And that's really a place that is a growth place for us as well. And then, does it require help from a higher power? Now, I don't want that to stop you if you don't quote unquote believe in a higher power. One of the things I teach in this book is the universal laws, and it's the main content of the coaching that I'll be doing with you in the second hour of this, the bonus time, is the universal laws. It doesn't matter what you believe. If you believe in God or Buddha or the universe or anything, the universal laws still exist. Okay, and they are spiritual universal laws. They are immutable. They do not change, and they are invisible, and they run us without us knowing how. And once we learn how to use them, they're very potent and valuable. And so, does it require help from a higher power? Do I need to learn the universal laws and how to apply them in my life? And I'll be sharing a lot of that in the second hour when I do the laser coaching with some of you that are ready to have some coaching done. And the last one is, does it have good in it for others? Right? And does it have good in it for others is even in relationships, a lot of people say, well, I just want the relationship for me. I want the peace of mind for me. I'll tell you, if you have peace of mind, you will bring more peace of mind to our planet. So in and of nothing else, become a more peaceful person. Okay. So this is a good tool to help you know if your life vision, your dream, where you're moving to is worthy of your time and investment. Now, one of the ways that we can know and see how we are getting there is to look at how our thinking affects us. So David Hawkins has a pyramid of vibrational frequency. And what that is that we can actually choose and decide the type of thinking that we want to use in our lives. We can change our thinking. When my son was little, he's 23 now, as a joke, I used to say, change your thinking, change your underwear. That'll change your life, won't it? But this is an important thing to understand, that when we are, you've walked into a party before, and like say a funeral or something, and it be very down and not very exciting, and then you walk and you feel it, everybody becomes it, right? Or you walk into a party that's fun and exciting and jovial, and everybody kind of catches the vibe. Well, most people do. Well, you can catch the vibe if you start beginning to understand this levels of consciousness. Now, think of them as feelings, okay? And this is actually the vibrational frequency that these things operate at. Down here in the lower frequencies, we have fear, grief, apathy, guilt, and shame. That is the things that keep us stuck in negative emotions that create inertia. Then we move into pride, anger, and desire, but this is a different kind of desire than I was talking about. This is the comparison desire. Oh, I wish I had what they had, right? As opposed to the genuine, this is mine to do desire. And that moves us into hyperactivity. And what I love is this red line right here. This is the turning point of moving into happy and productive, right? And look at what the first thing is on there: courage, right? Trust, optimism, and look at this, forgiveness. This is all the things that we need to move in to be happy and productive. We can shift from here to here just by our choice. And then into understanding, and then I love this, love, gratitude, living in gratitude, and joy and love, and then moving up to peace. So I'm giving you these tools today to help you move from where you are today to this vision, this dream that you're looking at. And I like to take the zeros off of this and share a little tool that I created called the My Frequency Thermostat. And how you use this is that this is 10 increments of 10. And so if you look back on that previous chart and take the zeros off, you can apply that. Are you in fear? Are you in anger? Those would be these dials here. So you take a situation. Okay, and the story I love to use on this is my son when he was learning to drive and he was driving our car. And he one of the privileges of getting to use the car is that he gets to go and run to the store for us, right? And so we asked him to go to the store, and he huffed and puffed. He didn't really want to do it. But he got in my car, pulled out of the driveway, and I heard a crash. And I just went, oh no. Oh no. Okay. So then he came running into the house. And he was furious. He was mad. He was in the anger zone here, right? He'd grown up with these tools, so I was able to pull out. I actually have these on a pad of paper, so that you could do it over and over again. And I said, okay, honey, where's your frequency? Where's your thoughts right here? Well, he didn't even go here. He goes -40. And I went, okay, well, how can we get you on the dial here? And I didn't ask him to change his frequency. I asked him to begin thinking thoughts, the kind of thoughts he wanted to have in order to raise his frequency and then make a decision from that place. So I said, what would be some thoughts that would help you raise your thinking up here to a more positive place? And he hoed and he hummed and he asked me, looked at me, and I said, I don't know. I don't know what they are at all for you. And so he hoed and hummed a little bit more. And then all of a sudden he looked at me and he said, I know. Oh, I can learn from my mistakes. That was his new thought, right? I can learn from my mistakes. So he turned his frequency up. And now instead of saying, they did it to me, which was his first response, the car that he backed into, it was their fault. He said, oh, I can learn from my mistakes. And I said, so what do you learn from this? He says, watch where cars are parked. He backed into a parked car in front of our house, right? So it's a very powerful tool to take that levels of consciousness and move into what is a thought. And I'll tell you, if you can't find anything else, remember, look at this chart again. You can go to a chart like this and you can say, oh, gratitude. So here's when you can always, or what do I love? Okay, to then say, now what is a new thought I can have? Okay, and he went over and since it was a parked car, he could go over and talk to the guy, and the guy came out, and he talked about repairing it. And you know what? We never heard from that guy again. We gave him everything, and he just went, oh, well. And so, and it went from kind of being, a hit and run into being a responsible young adult. So, you know what I wanted to do right now? I wanted to bring in Brenda for a minute here and let Brenda share a little bit about what she has gotten from doing this work with me for the last couple of years, especially in regard to this work. So what has your journey been? Let's start with, where were you and where are you now from the time that we started working?
Well, where I was, I knew about the divine, and I had some dreams fulfilled throughout my life. I had been and have been a nurse for 50 years and was moving into, in my 70s and late 60s and 70s when I started with Christy. What now? And I always had the dream of being a crone. I didn't know what that looked like. And so one of the things that Christy did is we had a really nice talk, and she looked at my energy and she created this vision crone picture for me. And then we worked from that, as that's my vision. And some of the things that we did, I did my first YouTube, realized that it's not my favorite thing to do. Because one of the things that she taught me to be, and what I heard was to be open and to really, listen to the divine and listen to next steps, not worrying about the how. Because I ask Christy how a lot, and she can tell you that. And it's like, don't worry about the how, just do something. So I started creating some feeling journals, and with my photographs, with essential oils, recommendations, and with space for people to write. So I'm also in a 12-step program, and so I'm utilizing those tools too. And it's just kind of added to all of that. And it's just given me, I've gotten so much more energy, and time doesn't mean anything. My age doesn't mean anything. It's become fun. The work has gone out of it and it's become fun. And that's the biggest thing that I've learned and gotten. Thank you, Christy. Is that
Oh, thank
enough?
you. Yes, absolutely. It was beautiful. Thank you so much for that. The key thing is like life is meant to be fun, right? This is a journey. And the only thing in our way of having life be fun and enjoyable is, guess what? I said this earlier, ourselves, right? So if you feel stuck, then it's all, and see, that's actually the good news, because if it's all about you, you can fix it. If it's about the other person, if you are a victim, you can't change anything, right? So when you become empowered and see that through your thoughts, I was going to show you this action before. So this is how the system works within us. Our thoughts, through our emotion, whether it's passion or disappointment or even disease, causes us to move into action, and that action creates our result. And so, using some of these tools that I've shared with you today, discover where you might be stuck. But I'll tell you, it's really helpful to have a guide on this journey. And that's what I'm going to do in the second hour here. We have about 15 minutes left for me to continue to share some of these things with you. And I'm going to use the tools that I shared with you coming up. I'm going to also help you learn how to continue to work with me, if you should want to. If it's not me, find somebody to be a guide and a support, because we're not meant to do this alone. We were not put on this planet of how many billions of people to just do this on our own. Another person that's been doing work with me, we're just going to show the first part of this. She's a very thoughtful person.
What I like about this group is that it really challenges me to dig deep and think deeper and that next level on how I'm feeling, what are my challenges, what am I working on, what is the answers to whatever it is that we're discussing that is important to me at the time, instead of just looking at things at a very base level. It's not something that I always take the pause to think about, and it's having the group together helps me to find the words that I don't always have the ability to come up with on my own, because I sometimes shut down and don't always investigate that on my own.
If you don't have anyone to challenge you to think thoughts you've never thought, that's part of the creative thinking expanded. I really encourage you to find a support to do that. So one of the things that I'm offering today is a 30-minute introduction to the process that I'm going to be using in the second session here. I do have an ongoing group, and so that may be something that you're interested in. Brenda's been in the group. Stephanie is in the group. If you want to get to know me a little bit more and know what I do and see if we're a good match, I do an introductory session. Now, one of the things that I do that we're going to use in the second part of this is my intuition and my ability to draw. So at the beginning of the pandemic, I wanted to bring all of my work that I'd been doing for the past 30-something years into a cohesive place. And so at the beginning of the pandemic, I actually did a deep dive work for 3 days in a row, and to see what is my new true masterpiece. How do I live my life as a masterpiece? You see, each one of us has that within us. And as Rumi says, if we don't do it, it's as if we did nothing at all. And so I knew there was still places for me to grow, and it was the integration of all of the things. I'm a professional artist. I am a life coach. I am a art therapist. I am a mom. I am a traveler. And how do I bring that all in together? And every day I would come home and I'd do my drawings for myself. And I found, and I've been doing this in another healing group that I'm in, and people would look at the drawings I do and they'd look at them and they go, oh, I get some insight from that. And I realized after those 3 days, this was my masterpiece. This is my current mastery. And so what I do is I listen to people, and as I listen, I actually start scribbling, and out of the scribble emerges some kind of image. Like this is one that came up, right? It didn't start looking like this. I call this a wisdom stone. I've taken groups traveling, groups of adults now traveling to Scotland and Ireland to go to these sacred sites. But this came out of it. Sometimes they're very scribbly like this. But when the client looks at them and I help guide them through it, they discover their own answers. Okay. And this one was really beautiful because this was actually a gap. And it's like, what do you fill the gap with? With love and jewels and wisdom and things like this. And then it became like a stepping stone towards her, the particular thing she was wanting to change that she came to me with. So I do a life design image, just like Brenda showed up there. But I also do from that, I usually do a what's in the way, because that already exists. And as I mentioned, the only thing in the way is us. And so you can go and get an introductive intuitive wisdom session, and we can talk and find out what each other is like. And then we can see if we're a match, and whether continuing with the wisdom sessions with me or moving into the group where you really learn the content of the what's written in Beyond the Box, where you use this to run your life in a way that is based on spiritual principle, universal law, and what that does is it creates lasting result. You know, my husband and I had a time when we were dating. Oh, Brenda's showing some more of hers. Beautiful. My husband and I had a time when we were first still dating, but we were pretty serious. We thought we were moving along, but we hit a wall and we thought, well, maybe this isn't right. Maybe we shouldn't move forward. And one of the things that we both knew at that time was that if we didn't work that out, if we didn't figure that out, we would experience that in our next relationships. You know, I've heard so many people tell stories about how they got into the relationships they're in, and they're always like tracking all of these kind of bad decisions they made along the line. And what were those bad decisions based on? A belief about themselves, right? So my husband and I, we knew that we had to heal that, or we would show up with it in our next relationship. We just celebrated in June our 32nd wedding anniversary. So when we get clear, when we really look at things like Stephanie was saying at a deeper level, we basically bring the subconscious to the surface so that we can heal this. Those thoughts are running us every day. That's what we're making our decisions from. And so I have a lot more tools. And here in just 5 minutes, I'm going to ask any of you to jump in and volunteer. Even if you've done this work with me before, sometimes that makes people a little bit more confident in being able to jump in, as when one of my tried and true clients or somebody that knows me really well comes in and allows the laser coaching. And what I will do in the laser coaching is I will, if it's needed or it calls to me, I will do drawings and show you how this drawing process works in a very minimal ability. So the group is called Journey Beyond the Box, and it is a weekly group where you get the study of this in a ongoing recordings where you get the lessons. And what we do during that entire hour of the weekly coaching is we look at where can you move to the next step. So here I see my good friend Sharon Karen, and also somebody who's joined in this work with me has come onto the call. Welcome, Sharon.
I've done a lot of work, and I do a lot of work. I'm a spiritual intuitive and coach. And I have to tell all of you that the work that I did with Christy was something, brought out things that have been deeply, deeply buried. And in her drawing, she was able to pick up on all, I've done, of course, a lot of work. I never stop. We never stop becoming human becomings. And Christy has that third eye vision, and she can draw it and just laser right in on what needs to be found. And these were like these last little remnants that were that just isn't allowing me to reach the next level. So I really am so happy and grateful, Christy, for the work that we did together, because that has really pushed me and helped me to open up like I haven't been able to do before with those things. Because when we're in the frame, we can't see ourselves. Right. So we have to have a coach or someone that can see who we are and what could be holding us back. And I want to do the next step with you, Christy. Honestly, it has really, really opened me up and helped me so much. And I want to tell everybody about it because it's been amazing.
So do you mind if I show the first drawing that we did without the details of it?
Oh, show it. Sure. I don't care what you show.
So,
if it helps somebody else, it certainly has helped me.
So this was the first drawing that I did, and I had no idea what, I started scribbles as I'm listening and talking. And I just looked at her and I said, there are 5 things that are still hanging out there that are kind of things that you need to still clear up and work on. And she named them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right off the bat. And so that is how kind of mystical it works. But one of the reasons that it works to use the image is that the image brings the subconscious to the surface and helps us think about or notice those things when otherwise we keep them suppressed. But even though we keep them suppressed, they are running our everyday life.
That subconscious mind, oh my gosh, with all the crap in it. And that's
now all the beauty in it, right?
And now, yes.
Because we went on to some really amazing insights and replacements for for that. So thank you.
Totally. Thank you, Christy.
Yeah, so I've given you everything I can in an hour. If you want to look at my website, it's Mastering the Art of Life. If you want to go and schedule a 30-minute session with me, complimentary, usually this is a $97 session. I sometimes give it for $27, but since you showed up here today, I want to give you a free session if you'd like to know about how I work and what the next steps might be. And you will get a problem solved during that session. I can 99% guarantee that. The only 1% is not me. It's if you are still holding on to your past.